everyone, Bethany here and welcome to my channel. Today I am joining the Not Too Shabby shop and the spring themed March stamp and die of the month. The stamp set is called Just For You, so if you are watching this and you are looking for the stamp set individually, that is what it's called. I absolutely love the spring theme. It's not spring quite yet here in Wisconsin, but definitely puts me in the mood to think all things spring. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp out a few of these and piece together a card. First, I have taken the watering can, which I think is so stinking cute, and I've put it in my Stamparatus, and now I'm going to just ink it up with my Eclipse Black Color Hive ink. And using my Maker Forte smusher tool, I'm going to get a very nice impression and it looks amazing. So now I am going to line up my Happy and my Mother's Day. I've determined that this is going to be a Mother's Day watering can. It is, in my opinion, never too early to prepare for Mother's Day. And using the same Color Hive black ink and the smusher tool again, now I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss. And instead of using my regular heat embossing technique of clear gloss, I am using the holographic embossing powder from Ranger. I'm just going to add a little bit of bling to this one because mothers are special and sometimes they just need a little bit of bling to let them know that they're extra special. Tapping that off, and then because there is glitter involved in this, I'm going to heat from behind first. This way the glitter isn't flying off the paper as I heat it up on the highest heat setting. Next, I'm going to go ahead and use the coordinating die to die cut this out. And just like that, it is cut out. Next, I am going to do the same thing off camera using this flower bouquet and coordinating die. The same steps using the black ink, heat embossing with holographic, and die cutting. And just like that, they are both cut out with the coordinating dies. Now before I start coloring in, I want to actually visualize what the coordinating colors around my little scene that I'm going to create with the watering can and flowers. I want to use this dark green as my card front. I have a white Neenah 110-pound cardstock for my base, but I also have this messy background that I created using just anything that was left over on my glass mat here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down into a fun shape, and then I'm going to piece it together so I can see visually how I want to color my stamp and die. Now that I cut out this inked up oval, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade in the green cardstock. I just want to give it a little bit of depth and dimension, also distressing just a hair, but wanting to give the vignette look around the corners and edges. So I'm using a standard blending brush that I got off of Amazon, and all I'm doing is I'm highlighting mostly the corners. I'm pushing in a little bit more. I don't know that I would end up with a perfect oval, but I am aiming for something that just gives a little highlight towards the focal point, which is the center. So you'll see how the eye is drawn now into the focal center of the card front. Then I'm going to use the same technique but using a purple, and for comparison I will just put the oval in there, and now you can see how everything is pulled in towards that. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I want to darken my edges, so I'm going to use a blending brush with the same technique. That green was the Color Hive Palm Tree color. Now I'm using the Grape Color Hive ink and going right along the edge. I don't want it to be super stark or drastic. I just want that focal point to really pull in. So when I put the stamp and die in the middle, it stands out. And I'm just blending back and forth until I get that right look that I'm aiming for. Because there is ink already down here, a lot of what I'm doing with the brush is slightly predetermined by the inks and the distressing that's already happened on the paper. So I don't have total control, but I have enough control that I can pull in that vignette look, so to speak, in this. So now when I place my pieces in the middle, you can see how they're going to stand out using that vignette technique. So now that I have that established, I'm going to let those inks dry so I'm not smearing and smudging. And then I'm going to zoom in and show you the coloring that I'm using with the Ohuhu markers. And the first color I'm starting with is the R10 Ohuhu alcohol ink marker. It is called Pastel Pink. And I am going for a pink colored watering can. I want to not be super matchy-matchy, but a complementary matchy-matchy. And you can see how it'll stand out against that purple for comparison. And what I'm doing is I am basically going to color almost up to the edge of the words. I want to give the words a little stand out, but I also want it to look like I'm going for a little watercolor look. So you'll see the white I'm leaving around the edges is slightly uneven. It's on purpose. That means that parts of it I'm going to go super close. Some parts I'm not going to touch at all, but I'm really aiming for that uneven, distressed watercolor look without being watercolor. And a lot of times the smoothness of the alcohol ink allows you to do certain techniques like that so that there is a obvious highlight to the words without actually having to wet the paper and deal with your inks potentially bleeding, etc., etc. And I'm not going to bother too much with anything in the middle of each line. I think that adds a little bit of extra fun highlighting. Now I'm going to use the RP6, which is a vivid pink, and I'm not going to do a whole lot with it, just a slight lining on the edge, and you'll notice I'm really making it a little bit more cartoony. I'm going to blend back a little bit. I really just wanted to give the watering can a little bit more dimension than just having a straight pink. Now I'm going to blend back with the R10. The reason I'm doing this is because I wasn't a super huge fan of the pinks. I didn't think they tied the rest of the pinks I have in this pack specifically. I don't think they tied in as well as I wanted with the oval I created. So I'm just using this as a differentiator. I'm not using it as highlight shadow. I'm allowing it to be a little more cartoonish, which it's not everyone's forte. That's totally fine. I get it. But it does save me a little bit of back and forth in blending. So this could be also construed as a lazy way to do some alcohol blending. But there it's subtle. It's just adding that little bit of dimension without being over the top. And with more time, I could just blend back and forth until I really am happy. But I am in haste. I'm going to go ahead and start coloring the flowers. I want the stems to really stand out, so I am using the closest complementary color possible to the card front that I chose. So this one is the GY3, which is Bud Green. Ironically, it has a flower reference in the name of it. And then I'm actually going to use a lighter green, the GY1, which is called Pale Green, and that's going to just add a little bit of accent. It's going to be super subtle. If you weren't here to see me using this technique, you wouldn't even know that I used two greens, because that's how subtle it really is. The first purple I'm going to use is the P3 Pastel Violet, and just going to mostly color all over. I'm going to sloppily color because I am once again going for the watercolor look. So you'll see I'm not going all the way to the edges. I'm just allowing a little bit of highlights that are going to eventually pop up in my sloppy filling of the colors. Now I'm going to go in with my next color, which is the R11, and it is called Mauve Shadow. And I'm going to go towards the centers of the petals as well as the ends and edges, and doing the same sloppy coloring technique, hoping to provide some shadowing as the name of the marker denotes. And you'll see as the alcohol marker dries how it starts blending, doing the work for me. Then the last color I'm going to use is the P2 Light Violet, which to me is still very dark. But I am now purposely going along the edges and the bottoms where the stems are, just deepening the color of the purple. I'm also going to go towards the middle of a couple of these, where the middles that you can still see. And this I will have to blend back because you'll see how stark it shows up against the other colors. But I wanted to accent some of the lines purposefully in the flowers themselves. Now going back with the next lightest color, which is the R11, and blending the edges down, they truly become shadows. And then coming back with my lightest color, the P3, and the white that I'm leaving behind is going to be lessened at this point to very small bits, mostly towards the tips. And now I have this beautiful bouquet of purple flowers. One more thing that I did decide to add was I took the colorless blender, and a few spots I had over colored and overdrawn on the lines. So I am just going through the white and blending those overages of coloring right into the white of the outline of the flowers and the watering can. So they're not as stark anymore and they give more of that watercolor effect. I wasn't initially intending to go for that effect, but because I had overcolored so much on a couple of spots, that was the result, and I'm going with it. I think it is adding a little bit of punchiness. It's adding a little bit of pizzazz to the overall coloring job. It's also a great way to hide my mistakes because basically what the colorless blender is a bleach pen. Now I'm going to go ahead and assemble, starting with the card base and the green fancy shadowed in card front, and offering a generous layer of the Barely Art glue. I'm going to place this card front down first and lining it up as best as possible. Since I did go edge to edge, it will make a difference. Next, I'm going to add my oval that I created, and I'm going to try not to over glue because it is already slightly warped because of all the ink on the paper. It's adding a little bit of texture and mixed media style to it, so I'm going to keep it that way, but I want to make sure that it isn't warping so much that it doesn't look good in the end. And I'm going to let those two layers sit under an acrylic block for a little while before I start adding my pretty flowers and watering can. Once that is dry enough for me, I'm going to go ahead and add the watering can first. I'm going to put these down though so I can see kind of how my placement is going to go. Now I'm going to add the foam tape that I cut out to the back, trying to keep this as centered as possible, but it's going to be slightly off-centered. And then I'm going to add a little bit of piece of foam tape to the end of the watering can so it doesn't get caught on something. I wanted to have the base down first so I could see exactly how I wanted to put it. And now I'm going to add the flowers. They're going to come out of the watering can. And I will just do 2 pieces of foam tape for that. One small, one big, that fit the flower shape well. And sliding them just behind that base of the watering can. And there we go. There is the final outcome. I love it. It's still got a little bit of my mixed media. If I were really getting crazy, I could add some gems, jewels. But for right now, I am actually pleasantly satisfied with the outcome. Are you excited that spring is around the corner? I know I definitely am. This is a hashtag driven hop, but we are also going to put the links down in the description below for all the rest of the people who are participating in this hop. And there is a giveaway happening with this hop. So don't forget to click on the Rafflecopter link down below to join the giveaway. Go and check out all the other channels. And also, if you could, please subscribe to this channel because I will have lots more inspiration with this stamp and die set later this month. But I will also have plenty of other inspiration coming up very soon. I will also link down below a supply list as well as my affiliate link for the Not Too Shabby shop. So if you want to purchase any of the supplies that I used, please use that link to check out. I hope you all have a wonderful day and don't forget to find the joy in your day. Happy making! Bye! Hi everyone, Bethany here and welcome to my channel. Let's start that again where I don't hit the mic. Also linked down below the what? And close up. Too close. Too close.